Hello, welcome to All Your Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Kinetic's new FRS.1 Sea Harrier. Now you might remember we've actually done a full build video of the FRS.2, which was the modernised Sea Harrier. That one was released a couple of years ago, and now it's nice to see they've completed the series and obviously come out with the FRS.1, and hopefully it'll be just as good as the second one was. So down in here, as you can see in the box, beautiful box art in the front, that classic FRS.1 colour scheme where it was in sort of the two-tone raw navy before they moved over to the overall grey. Okay, so looking around on the box, as we can see, we've got multiple, and we say multiple Harriers down in there. All the squadrons, as you might imagine. So we've got 800 Squadron, 801 Squadron down there, and then who else have we got in here? We've got 809. We've got the Indian Navy as well, which is a very nice touch. Haven't got Spanish. I was just looking to see if we had a Spanish one. But you can see we've got the overall South Atlantic grey colour as well as the more sort of modern lighter ones in there as well. Okay, so looking around on here, you've got your kit number for this one is K48035. And then obviously it's a little bit of decal, so cartograph, we do like that. We know they're going to be absolutely lovely down there. And also with cross delta design. Very nice indeed. Okay, so in the box, we just stick the lid there, we can see typical Kinetic. Now, Kinetic, for people who have perhaps never heard of it, or perhaps certainly, you know, not aware of the company, they've been around. I've got that over here. They've been around a couple of years now. To be honest, some of their early releases were a little bit clunky, but we've always forgiven them that. They've been a relatively new company in the great scheme of things, but over time they've really come up very well. And as I said, I've built their actual FRS.2 kit, and again, just taking care, little bits of flash here and there, the odd little ejector bin, but generally nothing that is would make a bad kit. So we've got a giant decal sheet, we've got a little bit of photo etch, and we've got some pretty standard instructions, and actually they're going to be landscape. Okay, so as you can see, usual thing down with this one, we've got the actual instrument panel being fitted down into the cockpit tub control stick, and obviously we've got the rudder pedals down there, and we've got the little bit for the heads-up display. The ejector seat as well, pretty much standard right the way through. Back wall of the tub, we've actually got the firing piston for the ejector seat being fitted down in there, and pretty much standard to all the Harriers. We've got that thing where you build the sort of nose wheel well, and the actual Pegasus fan blade, that giant fan blade that goes down in there, that single intake on the Harrier, bolts to the back of the seat, which pretty much is standard to all Harrier kits universally. Okay, then we're usual thing, we're going in, so we've got the main well and the speed brake is all in one, as you can see down in here, so that's being put in that together, so you can actually have the speed brake open or closed. Then we've got this sort of mechanism, which again I think it's a little bit gimmicky. It's supposed to be that you can rotate all the nozzles with one, makes them a working part. Again, I think it's very gimmicky and I don't even bother with it, so we just do them as separates. The chance of it working are non-existent, to be honest. Then it's a case of fitting those in just like that. But if you're not putting in this bar, you still need to put in the actual areas, or you could just put these in as a separate, okay, and just push them in and then lock your nozzles in afterwards, all right? So it's personal choice. Personally, I put this little spreader bar in because it helps keep the actual distance correct when you're squeezing it all together and everything else with that in there. Then we're going up in here. One of the headache areas, to be honest, with the Harrier has always been these sort of blow-in doors on the side. Makes it a little bit tricky, but again, some careful masking when you're coming into the paint time will make it okay. Okay, so you get two types. You actually have the blow-in doors open or closed. Now, this is where it's a little bit funny, because on this kit, it shows them with all the blow-in doors open. Reality is, when it's actually resting on the ground, some are open, some are closed. Okay, so sometimes what happens is the one on the bottom half, they're all in the closed positions, the one in the top naturally sag open. It's just they're done by gravity. If it needs it, it will draw their air in that way. When it doesn't, they close up because it's being pushed backwards. But generally they do float around, so in some ways it is that thing. The lower ones need to be closed, the upper ones open. You can adjust it right the way through. Big old top wing, which is exactly how the real aircraft here is as well. It lifts off in one piece, and then we've got the underparts of the wings going down on there. Fitting these intakes in, again, quick tip, paint those white before you actually install it. So spray all of this white inside, then actually mask it up. So when you come into painting wise, you haven't got to try and get a curve in here to give you the correct line, sort of demarcation between the outer colour and the white intake, okay? The actual Pegasus engine nozzles being fitted on. We've got the actual blast doors on the back, and then that completes your upper section just like this. Then we're moving up, popping all the gear in. Obviously, you probably leave that to a little bit later if you're like me. Okay, but basically the nose being fitted on, you've got all the sort of antennas, all the smaller parts all being fitted into that. We've got this, I think it's the radar altimeter sensor and things like that go up in the tail, just down in there. And then obviously doors open or closed on this particular kit. Fuel tanks, again, carries... It's got AMRAAMs on here. I'm not aware of the FRS.1 carrying AMRAAMs. Of course, I could be completely wrong, but I didn't think it actually did. Okay, but anyway, it's showing them with AMRAAMs down in there, and obviously we've got the big Sea Eagle missile, which it definitely carried. Okay, and then we've got down in here, which it definitely did, we've got Sidewinder. So we've got that nice tandem rail, very reminiscent of the actual Falklands War. It used to carry that one, or the single rail. We've got the Aiden gun pod underneath, and actually we've got the normal fin stabilized rocket system, and we've got freefall bombs. Pretty much it's just AMRAAM. I'm not sure it ever carried. Then obviously we've got your pylons all being fitted down into there. We have got little sway braces as well, just to be fitted in, and that takes care of those. And then you've got your weapons loadout, exactly what you want. So fuel tanks, I don't think it ever carried 4 fuel tanks, but I could be wrong. But definitely single bomb underneath, Sea Eagles on the inner pylons, and then obviously Sidewinders on there. As I said, I'm just a little bit hesitant about AMRAAMs. I'm not aware of it actually carrying AMRAAMs, but it might have done. And then we've got rocket pods. Again, funny it comes up with twin rocket pods and not singles, but it'll be easy to switch those over. Or we've just got the normal fences underneath to give that sort of skirt effect, just to help the Harrier with the ground effect as it comes into hover. Then, as you imagine, you have got quite a few aerials right the way over this one. So again, lots of aerials, refueling probe being fitted on there, and then obviously we've got all the various angle of attack sensors, yaw sensors, things like that, all being fitted. Pitot tube, rudder goes in. All of these ones being fitted on there just like that. And then obviously we've got flaps, and the ailerons obviously can be fitted, and obviously you can extend the flaps, which is a beautiful little touch with it. And then the tailplanes being fitted. These are whilst we've got them here, these are the photo etch little strafes that go on the little leading fences that go onto the actual wings, okay, which is very nice because they're very fine and they are on the real thing, so it's nice that those are in. Okay, so don't forget to pop those in. And that is it. Then we got your options as you come out. So we got obviously 800 Squadron, very famous with the actual the tail, the red tail onto it like that one. And then down on here we've got the actual one which was on Invincible. Okay, and then obviously we've got 899 Squadron, the Flying Fists. We've done various Harriers with that one, including our Sea Harrier is in that marking, and obviously we've done the Sea Vixen as well in those squadron markings as well. Colour callouts, as you imagine, right the way through for the different markings and things like that. So it's extra stark sea grey with white right the way through, or you can go through with the all over grey colour scheme, as you can see down in there, which is the extra D grey over everything. Or we've got this one down in here with the medium sea grey, which was before the Harrier switched over to the FRS.2, that sort of one as they went through. And then again, lots of different versions. And then down here it's quite nice because we've got the low res version of the actual or the low vis version, I should say, of the actual tail markings as well. Okay, so again, very nicely thought out right the way through. And then in here somewhere we should have the Indian one. Okay, so there we go, that's the one. So that's the one, again, something a little bit different. 300 Naval Air Squadron from the Indian Air Force, as you can see just down in there. Okay, or the Indian Navy I should say, down on there. So again, quite a nice touch with those things. We get a massive decal sheet. So what we're really saying here is, because of the numbering system and everything else, you can make every single aircraft, including we got them all down here, of the entire Harrier fleet, which is actually a really, really nice touch. Very nicely thought out and done. So we've got all the sort of naval squadrons with any markings right the way through, and then the Indian one, obviously you could do any markings from that one as well. But very nice to see we've got all these done. And again, it's cross delta designed by and we're done by Cartograph, which is elite. That's the best. This is the best you can get down in there. So as we said before, we got these little guys. So this here is the little photo etch ones. So we got these little vein system, which I can't remember what they were for now. There it is, just down on there like that, for the little bit of photo etch, little reinforcement plate down there, and those fences as they go through on that. Okay, so into the bags. They're nice things about these is they're resealable, which is always handy. Okay, so as you can see, sprue one, obviously we've got all the areas down on there, and we're just having a look around just generally. All looks to be very nice, very clean, very sharp, very crisp. No problem with that at all. We've got a little bit of a slip mold running right the way down the side here. Maybe the close-up camera can actually just pick that up in the light. Maybe, maybe not, but it's actually just running down there. It's not pronounced, and it's definitely not like an artificial panel line or anything else like that, so that's no problem at all. And generally, as I said, looking at the detail on it, that actually looks pretty good. So the Harrier isn't covered in a million rivets, even though it's H. It is very, very nicely done. It's got good details exactly where you'd expect it to be. And again, you can see very fine details all the way over this one. The riveting's right where it needs to be. It's actually a very nice kit indeed. And let's face it, the only other one really is the Airfix god-awful old one, and that truly was atrocious. Down on the inside, obviously, we're completely devoid of all detail whatsoever because it's cockpit tubs and things, so there's nothing in here. But just on the blind side, we've got the tail system down in here. Very nice indeed, no problem at all. Just looking at the ejector pins, they seem to be down and out the way, so they're not going to be any problem. The nose, the all-important nose, as you can see, looks pretty good. No problem with that at all. And then we've got a little bit of flash, to be honest, down on here, but that one's going to take much to get rid of that. But these are the blast doors that sort of go down on the actual sides down in here of the actual Harrier itself. And then these are your intake lips, and again, it's got tiny little bits of flash on it that you just want to make sure that they are all gone so they're not showing through, otherwise that could come back and give you a few headaches. Okay, so let's find a way in. There we go. So just down in here, as you can see, we've got the wing section looking very, very nice indeed. No problem. You can see all those details in the light there. Nicely done. The little vortex generators, again, maybe a little bit heavy if we're honest, but I think they'll actually be fine, no problem at all. The main thing is just looking around, we've got a lot of flash on this sprue. As you can see, it's all over. It's not so much on the parts, but there is little things like just down in here, we maybe just need to open up these. They've just got a little bit of flash over them, so those need to be taken care of. Okay, but generally the doors are all very nice. The undersides of the wings detailed, as you can imagine, right the way through. But that's actually very nice detail on the top. And if you go back and have a look at our FRS.2 build, you'll know how we did all the weathering on that one just to bring all that alive in those areas and everything else like that. But generally very nice indeed. Can't see any problems with that. We've got no ejector pin on the insides of the doors as well, so that's a nice touch. So that's pretty good. Just a little bit of flash around the sprue, but there's not much actually on the parts themselves. Okay, so moving down into the guts of it, you can see down in here we've actually got a very nice detailed wheel well, no problem at all. We've got the bulkheads, things like that. Over on here we've got the cockpit, which actually isn't too bad at all. Some very nice raised details on all of that right the way through, so that's actually pretty good on there. And then as you can see, just working our way through, I tell a lie, they have done it. Okay, so this is what we were talking about having the blowing doors open and close. They have moulded it so they are actually in the powered down position of the top one's open, the bottom one's closed. Perfect. The only thing is, I don't know if you can see this, mine has got like a yellowy tinge to it. This will be release agent, and it is, and it's oily. I can feel it in my hand, so this sprue will need to have a wash. The other thing as well is it's just got bits of you know, the actual agent everywhere, so this sprue totally needs a wash before you would want to put any acrylic paint near it for certain. Okay, tail planes, as you can see, very nicely done, nicely riveted as well, so that's very nice. Okay, we've got the actual part 2 of the actual intake, and then obviously this one just come off the sprue. Okay, there's your actual intakes as well. Again, a little bit of flash on this every there and then. The actual blade system, save that giant Pegasus engine down in there, doesn't look too bad at all. And there's your parts for the ejector seat. Again, they look quite nice. No real problems with any of those at all. And then obviously down on here we've got the different types of the actual screens. Obviously we're using the single screen, not the twin one, so it'd just be the single one just down on here. Okay, so that's very nice indeed. Okay, so we have 2 wing tops, which is interesting. So they've obviously put in, I don't know what the difference is between the 2. So we will look into this. and just see what the two differences are. Oh, they're just giving us a very nice option. Okay, so let's just try and work out why we've got two in here. The actual... right, okay, so this is obviously the top wing section is slightly different, as you can see. So this is the one we're not going to use because it's got the dogtooth edge on it. Okay, which goes in like that. The actual FRS.1 has the nice smoothed one between the two. So that we forget about, don't take any notice, that is the replacement for it. But for some reason they've given you the nice option to do both. Down on here, as we can see, we've got a gorgeous weapon set, pretty much standard. Nice little tight spray braces down on here. As you can see those, that's very nice as well. We've got the actual speed brake area and the bottom half of the well. Those rockets, look at those rockets, the detail on those, absolutely brilliant. It looks like a cake. So some really nice rocket detail on those, freefall bombs and all the other parts just like that. So no problems there at all. Okay. Into the gear. Okay, so looking down on this one, as you can see, it looks pretty nice. All the smaller bits down in here, I can't see too much of a problem. Okay, so down on here we've got all the small little lumps, bumps. This is the activators for the flaps up and down type of thing. Control stick looks quite nice. All the small little details you can see, beautifully molded, no problem at all. I'm not sure, but I think it is. Just down on this one, I could be wrong, but it does look like a sink mark right in the middle of that. But, you know, that's a simple job with a bit of super glue. This is that fence system that goes down along the actual belly of the Harrier. Just helps, as I said, with that sort of ground effect when it gets down lower. Gives it a cushion for landing, in other words. Okay, so this is the mechanism for actually moving all the nozzles and everything else like that, which I said not a massive fan of. The outriggers looking really nice, molded in one as well. There is a tiny little bit of sinkage again just down on these sides that it probably doesn't have, and it has got them on the other sides, unfortunately, so we're going to need to take care of those. All right, and generally very nice. Peter, this is the air-to-air refueling probe just down on here, and this is obviously your flap doors, main wheels, things like that, as you can imagine, right the way through. So no problem. Just a little bit of the sink marks on this particular kit, to be honest. Okay, and then because it's universal, we've got the nose here. This is the nose system out of the FRS.2. Okay, so the actual Sea Harrier 2, the FA2. Okay, and then generally we're all nice. The nozzles even, as you can see, molded in one. Beautifully done, no problem with that at all. Okay, so actually very, very nicely molded instead of having two halves. We've got the pylons, we've got the aid and gun pods, and obviously we've got the other parts, sensors of the hubs, things like that, as you might imagine, and we've got a few more sway braces on there. Down in here, which is, I think this is just generally a universal weapons pack. We didn't actually arm our Sea Harrier, we just left her neat. We've got a dual sprue. As you can see down on here, again, quite nice weapon set with this one. So we got some Lima sidewinders down on there. Say AMRAAMs, I don't think we used on this particular one. Sea Eagle missiles, we've said before. We've got some nice cooling systems for the Sea Eagles. Fuel tanks, we've got the smaller ones and the larger ones, as you might imagine. And again, these are the actual pylons for the belly system. And then again, all the various parts from those on there, so that's actually really nice indeed. Okay, last up is the clear sprue. So one of the biggest difference between a lot of people say about the Air Force Harrier and the Sea Harrier was obviously the Sea Harrier has got a taller canopy. It's a lot more higher than the actual the Air Force Harrier, the Land Harrier if you like. Gives the pilot better visibility. Generally, as you can see, no problem. We didn't have any problems at all the first time, and definitely not on the second time either. That's really very nice clear sprue indeed. No problem with that whatsoever. Really very nice indeed. Okay, so there we go. That is it. That is the Sea Harrier. I must admit, It's typical Kinetic, if we're honest. There's a couple of little sink marks in there and there's a little bit of flash, so you just want to make sure of those. Once those are fine, actually they do build up to be a very nice kit indeed. I've seen this one built up many times now, and everybody's reported back that it's a beautiful kit. Goes together very well once you take care of those flattened sink marks, and you'll be absolutely great with it. As I said, we've built the FA2 version, the more modern, the slightly longer Sea Harrier with the different nose on it, and it went together really nicely, and we've actually got it. I've got it over there. It's one of my favourite builds to date, and it's an absolutely beautiful aircraft to look at. I'm going to build this one because it is what it is. It's a Harrier. I'm a Harrier fan, and it'll look great with both of them together side by side as well, showing the generations of the FRS.1. As always, you can get this one via Flory Models and PM Models direct. Members, obviously, you'll get a very nice discount on this one. Go off and have a look at that, and you can see what prices you can get it for. So that's the Kinetic 1/48 scale FRS.1 Sea Harrier.